the Galactic Council chamber floated in silence above a dying star. The star below was old and unstable, its light flickering between blue and red as if it were struggling to stay alive. Long ago, the chamber had been placed here as a symbol. It reminded the galaxy of one truth: even stars die, but the council remained. The chamber was massive. Its walls were made from black stone older than most civilizations. Symbols of ancient victories were carved deep into the surface. Every mark told the story of a war won, a species defeated, a threat erased. Hundreds of alien species were present. They came in many forms. Some were tall and thin, their bodies glowing faintly with energy. Others were massive, armored beings who had survived thousands of battles. Some were machines, cold minds that had replaced flesh long ago. Some were creatures older than Earth itself, who had ruled star systems before humans had even discovered fire. They were old, they were powerful. They were the galaxy. This council did not meet often. Only matters of true importance brought them together. Today the topic was small. A single word appeared at the center of the chamber, glowing softly in the air. Har-Ba-Chin. Humanity. A few alien leaders reacted with mild interest. Most did not react at all. To the galaxy, humans were not a threat. They were not mysterious. They were not impressive. They were predictable. Records scrolled beside the name, showing long lines of data collected over centuries. The galaxy knew humans well, or at least it believed it did. An automated voice summarized the information. Species designation, human. Origin, Sol system. Notable trait, endurance. That word appeared larger than the rest. Endurance. That word appeared larger than the rest. The chamber filled with quiet amusement. One alien diplomat adjusted his robes and spoke calmly. Humans are known for surviving hardship, nothing more. Images appeared: human cities damaged by war, colonies rebuilt again and again, refugees returning to broken worlds. Another leader added, they negotiate when others fight. They retreat when others advance. The records continued. Humans were described as always negotiating, always retreating, always rebuilding, always forgiving. The council reviewed centuries of history. Human colonies destroyed in border wars. Human trade routes attacked by stronger empires. Human civilians lost in conflicts they did not start. And yet, no total war. No galaxy-shaking response. No revenge campaigns. A tall, armored alien commander finally spoke. His species had conquered dozens of worlds. His voice carried authority and confidence. Humans endure everything, he said. They always have. They always will. A few members of the council nodded in agreement. He continued, walking slowly across the chamber floor. When their colonies burn, they protest. When their ships are seized, they negotiate. When their people die, they forgive. His voice carried no anger, only certainty. They call it morality, he said. We call it weakness. Soft laughter echoed through the chamber. The records showed more recent events. Border conflicts labeled as accidents. Trade seizures labeled as necessary security actions. Military strikes labeled as warnings. Each time, humanity responded the same way. They sent diplomats. They sent aid ships even to their attackers. They sent silence. No fleets crossed borders. No worlds were threatened. No ultimatums were given. The galaxy took note. An empire near human space began pushing further. A human mining colony vanished during a navigation error. A civilian transport was destroyed during a training exercise. A trade station was seized and never returned. Still, no war. A council analyst spoke up, hesitating slightly. Human reaction patterns show restraint beyond normal survival behavior. The armored commander dismissed this with a wave of his claw. Restraint is their nature, he said. They lack the will to escalate. Another leader added, they value stability more than pride. The chamber agreed on one thing. Humans feared collapse. Humans feared chaos. Humans feared losing what little they had built. And so they endured. One by one, alien leaders spoke about humanity as if discussing a minor inconvenience. They rebuild faster than expected, one said. They adapt well to loss, another noted. They absorb damage instead of reflecting it. A machine intelligence calculated. None of this worried them. In fact, it reassured them. The galaxy believed it had discovered a rule. Gaijin humans would endure anything to avoid total war. That belief became comfort. That belief became arrogance. The council reached an unspoken conclusion. Humans would complain. Humans would survive. Humans would survive. Azo Shauv. A junior observer, barely old enough to speak in council meetings, watched the data with unease. His species had once believed similar things about another race long ago. That race no longer existed. He opened his mouth to speak, then closed it. The council had already decided. Humanity was not dangerous. Humanity was patient. The meeting began to move on to other matters. Trade disputes, border adjustments, minor wars between younger species. Humanity faded from the center of the chamber. The word disappeared from the hologram. But deep in the data streams, far beyond what the council bothered to read, something strange was happening. Human records were changing, not outwardly, quietly. Lists were growing longer. Dates were being marked. Patterns were being marked. Human leaders were not reacting emotionally. They were not shouting. They were not demanding justice. They were watching. They were recording. They were remembering. The galaxy did not notice, because the galaxy believed endurance meant acceptance. It believed patience meant submission. It believed silence meant fear. What the galaxy did not understand was that humans were not enduring. They were counting. The galaxy did not attack humanity all at once. That was not how it worked. The galaxy tested first. After the council meeting, borders near human space quietly shifted. Navigation lanes were redrawn without notice. Trade routes that humans had used for decades were suddenly labeled as restricted. No warning was given. Human cargo ships were stopped and searched. Some were delayed for weeks. Some never arrived at their destinations. Alien authorities called these actions routine security measures. Humans sent formal complaints. They used calm words. They followed protocol. They waited for replies. The replies came slowly. They were polite. They were empty. An alien patrol destroyed a human research station near the edge of known space. The official report said it was a targeting error. The patrol commander expressed regret. Humans accepted the apology. The galaxy watched carefully. Nothing happened. Encouraged by the lack of response, the tests became bolder. A human farming colony on a quiet moon lost power for 3 days after an alien fleet conducted engine tests nearby. Crops failed. People died. Human diplomats arrived with aid ships, not weapons. They rebuilt. They did not threaten. An alien warlord commented publicly, "They will endure this too." The phrase spread across galactic networks. Endure. It became a joke. Smaller empires learned quickly. If you pushed humans just enough, but not too far, nothing happened. So they pushed. Human medical convoys were taxed into bankruptcy. Human defense satellites were disabled by accident. Human civilian stations were boarded and searched without cause. Each event was recorded. Each time, humans responded the same way. They sent messages. They asked for investigations. They waited. Inside human space, leaders met in quiet rooms. No shouting filled the halls. No threats were made. No emergency broadcasts were sent. Instead, screens displayed long timelines. Each incident was logged. Each name was remembered. Each location was marked. A senior human official spoke once during one meeting. He did not raise his voice. "We do nothing," he said. No one argued. Back in the galaxy, alien confidence grew. One powerful empire decided to test the final assumption. They attacked openly but carefully. A human border world was struck during a military exercise. Defense grids were disabled first. Population centers were avoided, but orbital stations were destroyed. Thousands died. The Empire's ambassador delivered a public message. "This was a misunderstanding," he said calmly. "We regret the loss of human life." The galaxy waited. This was the moment many expected humans to finally respond. They did not. Human fleets did not move. No war declaration was made. No threats were broadcast. Human space went quiet. Trade continued. Aid ships still flew. Diplomatic channels remained open. The galaxy relaxed. One alien strategist summarized it perfectly. "They are afraid of becoming monsters," he said, "so they choose suffering instead." The phrase spread. Human endurance was no longer respected. It was exploited. A younger alien officer watching these events felt uneasy. He had studied ancient wars. He had seen what happened when patterns broke. He approached his commander. "Sir," he said carefully, "human response curves are unnatural." The commander laughed. "They forgive genocide and rebuild cities in silence," he replied. "That is not strategy. That is weakness." The officer said nothing more. Meanwhile, something subtle changed. Human diplomatic messages became shorter. Human responses arrived faster but said less. Human fleets began to vanish from public sensors. Alien intelligence agencies noticed strange things. Human shipyards were busier than ever, but no ships appeared on open registries. Human cargo traffic rerouted through empty space. Human data networks sealed themselves behind layers of encryption. When asked, humans said nothing was wrong. They smiled. They thanked their neighbors. They endured. The galaxy did not notice the shift because the galaxy only looked for anger. And humans were not angry. They were quiet. In one council world, an ancient alien historian reviewed human behavior late into a long night cycle. His species measured time in thousands of years. He had seen empires rise and fall. He stared at the data and whispered a single question. Why are they so calm? He sent a private warning to the Galactic Council. Human endurance is changing, the message read. They are no longer absorbing damage. They are storing it. The warning was archived, unread, ignored. The Council had already decided what humans were. A species that bent. A species that healed. A species that forgave. A species that endured forever. On the far edge of human space, a final test was carried out. A human evacuation convoy was intercepted. This time, there was no apology. The alien commander stated it openly. We needed an example, he said. The convoy burned. Still, no human fleet appeared. Still, no message came. But across human space, something ended. Not hope. Not fear. Something quieter. Something deeper. Human leaders closed their records. They stopped adding dates. They stopped counting losses, because the count was complete. The galaxy believed humans had endured one test too many. What it did not understand was that humans had finally reached the number they were waiting for. The galaxy noticed the silence too late. At first it felt normal. Human trade ships still appeared on schedules. Human aid convoys still crossed borders. Human diplomats still answered messages. But something was missing. The noise. Human space had always been loud. Civilian broadcasts, open data channels, cultural signals, and constant communication filled the networks. Humans talked to everyone, even those who hurt them. Now, those channels went dark. No announcements. No public debates. No emotional responses. Just quiet. Alien monitoring stations reported the change. Civilian chatter from human systems has dropped by 80%, one report stated. The response from command was casual. They are mourning, an officer said, or tired, another suggested. The galaxy had seen silence before. It always meant fear. But this silence felt organized. Human fleets continued to move, but not in expected ways. Patrol ships vanished from border routes. Defense groups withdrew from known positions. Alien sensors tried to track them. The readings made no sense. Ships disappeared from one system and appeared days later in places they should not have reached so fast. Some fleets seemed to split, merge, and vanish again. Human officials offered no explanations. When questioned, they replied with short messages: maintenance rotation, civilian evacuation, routine movement. The words were calm, almost polite. Inside the Galactic Council, concern briefly surfaced. An ancient machine intelligence ran long-term models. It compared current human behavior with previous conflicts. The result was unexpected. Human response probability dropped to zero. Not low. Zero. The machine flagged this as abnormal. A warning was submitted. The council dismissed it. They are withdrawing, a leader said. Isolation always comes before surrender. The belief held strong. Meanwhile, human borders tightened. Civilian traffic slowed, then stopped. Entire systems closed themselves to outside access. Navigation beacons were shut down without notice. Alien traders complained. Human space was no longer convenient. On a remote council world, an alien historian watched the patterns grow clearer. He had lived long enough to remember species that smiled until the end. He reviewed old human records, ancient wars, planetary conflicts, internal disasters. A pattern emerged. Humans did not strike when hurt. They struck when certain. He sent another warning. Human silence does not indicate fear. It indicates decision. The message joined thousands of others in council archives. Unread. At the edge of known space, a human shipyard worked without pause. Massive structures moved silently through darkness. No broadcast lights. No civilian markers. Only cold, controlled motion. The ships built there were not registered. They were not named. They were counted. Alien spies attempted to observe. None returned. Elsewhere, alien commanders noticed small failures. Supply depots lost contact for hours. Military relays experienced delays. Navigation data showed minor errors. Nothing serious, nothing alarming, just enough to be irritating. They blamed outdated systems. No one blamed humans. Then, something stranger happened. Human diplomats began leaving, not fleeing, withdrawing. Embassies closed quietly. Staff departed without protest. Cultural exchanges were paused indefinitely. When asked why, humans replied with the same sentence every time. "We are focusing inward." The phrase spread. It sounded harmless. It was not. One young alien officer reviewed border scans late into a shift. He noticed something impossible. Human fleets were not defending territory. They were forming shapes, wide arcs, long lines, deep layers, patterns used only in one kind of planning, war. He brought this to his superior. The superior laughed. "Humans have never attacked first," he said. "They would warn us. They always warn." The officer did not argue. He saved the data. On a distant human world, leaders gathered one final time. No speeches were made. No votes were taken. Everyone already knew. A single screen showed a list. Every incident, every loss, every incident, every loss, every ignored warning. The list was complete. A human commander spoke quietly. "We proceed." No one asked when. No one asked how. Because the moment had already passed. Across the galaxy, the silence deepened. Human civilian networks shut down completely. Cultural broadcasts ended. Even entertainment channels vanished. To many aliens, it felt unsettling. To others, it felt like relief. "The problem has solved itself," one council member said. The historian disagreed. He looked at the star maps. Human space no longer pulsed with light. It had gone dark. Not dead. Hidden. He whispered to himself, "This is not retreat." But no one was listening. The first system went silent 3 days later. No distress signal. No explosion detected. Just absence. A trade hub failed to respond. Then a military outpost near it vanished from sensors. Command assumed equipment failure. Investigations were scheduled. Slowly. Far too slowly. Because the galaxy still believed the same lie, that humans endured forever, that they absorbed pain without consequence. That silence meant surrender. They did not realize the truth. Human silence was not the end of endurance. It was the space between breaths. And when humans inhaled again, the galaxy would finally hear them. The first collapse did not look like war. That was why the galaxy ignored it. A major alien relay station stopped responding in the outer sectors. It was old, heavily protected, and essential for long-range communication. Engineers assumed a system failure. Repair crews were sent. They never arrived. Sensors showed no explosion, no debris field, no enemy fleet. The relay was simply gone. The official report labeled it a rare technical loss. Then a second station failed. Then a third. Each one disappeared in silence, as if space itself had erased them. Military commanders began to feel unease. Communication delays spread. Orders arrived late. Fleets waited for commands that never came. Still, no one said the word war. Because wars were loud. This was not. At the same time, human activity remained minimal. No threats. No broadcasts. No visible fleets. Human space stayed dark. An alien admiral ordered deep scans of nearby systems. His sensors detected something cold and wrong. Human ships were present. They were there but not where they should be. They did not move in straight lines. They did not gather in large fleets. They drifted in deep shadows, near stars with unstable radiation. They were hiding in places sensors avoided. The admiral reported this to high command. The response was delayed. When it came, it was dismissive. Observation does not equal aggression. The admiral was not convinced. He remembered old human records. Humans hunted predators on their own planet. They waited. They studied. They struck once. On a border world, an alien garrison lost power for 8 minutes. Only 8. When systems rebooted, nothing was damaged. Nothing was stolen. Except one thing. All combat data was gone. Tactical maps, fleet readiness reports, emergency plans. Erased. The garrison commander sent a frantic report. It was not sabotage, he said. It was removal. The report reached the council. It was archived. Then came the first open loss. A warship escorting a supply convoy vanished during transit. No distress call was sent. No wreckage was found. Pirates were blamed. But pirates bragged. These did not. Alien insurance networks refused compensation. There was no proof of attack. The crew was listed as missing. Families waited. Inside the Galactic Council, debate finally started. Not about humans, about uncertainty. Too many systems are failing at once, one member said. Another replied, coincidence exists. Then an ancient species spoke, one that had survived many ages. Coincidence has limits. The chamber grew quiet. The ancient one continued. These failures are precise. They remove function, not territory. This is not conquest. What is it then? Someone asked. The ancient one answered slowly. Preparation. The word unsettled the room. Still, no action was taken. Because there was no enemy to strike, humans remained silent. Then the galaxy made its mistake. A powerful empire decided to secure its borders preemptively. They moved fleets toward human-adjacent space, not to attack, but to intimidate. A display of power. The fleets crossed a marked boundary. Human space responded. For the first time in decades, a single message was sent. It was short. Withdraw. The empire laughed. They ignored it. No second warning came. No countdown. No speech. The fleets advanced. Then their navigation systems failed. One by one, ships drifted off course. Some collided. Others were pulled toward gravity wells. They could not escape. Communication collapsed. Command ships tried to regroup. Human vessels appeared, not in mass, in pairs, silent, unmarked, cold. They disabled engines with perfect accuracy. They cut power, not hulls. They boarded only command ships. No surrender was accepted. The fleets were not destroyed. They were removed. Every ship was captured or stranded. Not a single human casualty was recorded. The Empire panicked. They demanded answers. Human space remained silent. The galaxy finally understood something was wrong. Emergency meetings were called. Intelligence networks worked without rest. The word endurance disappeared from reports, replaced by another word, control. Humans were not reacting. They were executing. An alien general stared at updated maps. Human ships were everywhere and nowhere. They were never weak, he whispered. They were disciplined. On a distant council world, the historian finally received a reply to his warnings. It was too late. Systems began falling faster. Not burning, falling. Infrastructure failed. Command chains broke. Fleets became blind. The galaxy had ruled through noise and force. Humans ruled through patience. And patience had ended. The council demanded communication. Humanity answered. A single broadcast. No threats. No emotion. Just one line. You believed we would endure forever. The message paused, then finished. You were wrong. Across the galaxy, leaders felt something new. Not anger, not hatred, fear. Because the humans had not struck in rage. They had struck calmly. And calm enemies do not stop easily. The galaxy did not collapse in fire. It collapsed in confusion. Empires still had fleets. They still had weapons. They still had soldiers. But they no longer trusted their own systems. Orders failed to arrive. Maps changed without warning. Defenses activated too late or not at all. Human attacks did not look like war. They looked like corrections. Captured alien commanders were brought to human-controlled stations. None were harmed. None were tortured. They were treated with calm efficiency. That terrified them more than violence. In one quiet chamber, an alien admiral was allowed to speak with a human commander. The room was plain. No symbols. No threats. The alien could not hide his anger. You let this happen, he said. You endured attack after attack. You could have stopped us earlier. The human commander listened. He did not interrupt. When the alien finished, the human spoke. You are wrong, he said calmly. We did stop you. The alien laughed bitterly. You lost worlds. You lost people. Yes, the human replied. And we learned. The human activated a screen. It showed records stretching back decades. Every broken treaty, every ignored warning, every accidental strike. Each incident was marked. The alien stared. You recorded everything? He asked. We record what matters, the human answered. The alien leaned forward. Why wait? He demanded. Why not strike when the first world burned? The human commander paused. Because war changes what it touches, he said, and it changes the one who starts it most of all. The alien did not understand. The human continued. Humans fight often among themselves. We know what anger does. We know how quickly it spreads. We know how hard it is to stop. The screen changed. It showed ancient human wars, cities destroyed, generations lost. When we strike too early, the human said, we fight emotions, and emotions make mistakes. The alien felt uneasy. Then why strike now? Because emotions are no longer involved. The human's voice remained steady. We waited until there was no doubt, no misunderstanding, no claim of accident. Another screen appeared. It showed galactic reactions, laughter, dismissal, mockery. You declared us harmless, the human said. You taught your people we would never act. The alien realized the truth. Human patience had shaped the galaxy's behavior. We needed you to believe that, the human said. The alien felt cold. You used your own suffering to measure you, the human finished. Silence filled the room. Elsewhere, across human space, similar conversations took place. Humans did not celebrate. There were no victory broadcasts. No parades. No songs. Human worlds remained quiet. Inside command centers, leaders spoke in low voices. They reviewed outcomes, not glory. A young human officer asked a question many feared to ask. Will we stop now? The answer came quickly. Yes. The officer looked surprised. Then why prepare so much? The senior commander replied. Because stopping only works if the lesson is learned. In the Galactic Council, panic spread. Old alliances shattered. Empires blamed each other. Smaller species begged for protection. They all asked the same question. What do humans want? The answer arrived at last. A single broadcast sent to every major system. Not a threat. Not a demand. An explanation. A human representative appeared on screens across the galaxy. He spoke slowly. We did not want this, he said. We did not plan conquest. He paused. We planned restraint. He explained human patience in simple words. Humans wait because war cannot be undone. Humans wait because power once used reshapes the future. Humans wait because survival is not victory. The galaxy listened in silence. When patience ends, the human continued, it means every other option is gone. Alien leaders finally understood. Human endurance was not kindness. It was containment. Containment of their own capacity for destruction. The broadcast ended with one sentence. We waited until you proved that you would not stop. Fear spread not of human anger, but of human control. Because humans were not acting from hatred. They were acting from decision. The galaxy adjusted quickly. Empires withdrew fleets. Borders were restored. Attacks ceased overnight. Not because humans demanded it, but because everyone finally believed the truth. That humans did not fight to win battles. They fought to end patterns. In one final private meeting, the alien admiral spoke again to the human commander. You could rule everything now, he said. Why don't you? The human answered without hesitation. Because ruling requires constant force. And humans? The alien asked. We only use force once. The admiral understood. The galaxy had survived. But it would never be the same. Because now it knew something no species ever forgot. Human patience was not infinite. It was deliberate. And when it ended forever. The galaxy survived. That alone felt unreal. For centuries, power had belonged to those who struck first, struck hardest, and struck loudest. Empires rose by fear. They ruled by force. They fell the same way. Humanity did none of that. When the fighting stopped, there were no celebrations in human space, no victory announcements, no speeches filled with pride, no flags planted on conquered worlds. Human fleets withdrew quietly. Captured ships were returned. Stranded crews were escorted home. Borders were restored exactly as they had been before. The galaxy did not know how to respond. They had expected punishment. They had expected domination. They had expected revenge. Instead, they received restraint. That frightened them more than destruction ever could. The Galactic Council gathered again, this time not above a dying star, but above a quiet one. The chamber felt smaller now. The walls still held ancient victories, but they no longer felt impressive. Too many names carved there, belonged to empires that no longer existed. Humans were invited, not demanded, not summoned, invited. A human delegation arrived in a single ship, no escorts, no weapons visible, the same calm they had always shown. The council watched in silence. One alien leader finally spoke. You could have ended us, he said. Why didn't you? The human representative answered simply. Because ending you was never the goal. Another leader asked the question everyone feared. Then what was? The human looked around the chamber. To be understood. Confusion spread. For centuries, the human continued. You believed endurance meant weakness. That patience meant fear. You thought silence was surrender. He paused. We allowed that belief. Some council members shifted uncomfortably. Because belief shapes behavior, the human said. And we needed you to show us who you really were. The truth settled heavily. Humans had not been testing weapons. They had been testing the galaxy. And when you crossed every line, the human finished. We acted once. Completely. Calmly. The council understood then. This was not a warning. This was a lesson. A new galactic law was proposed that day. Not written by humans. Written by everyone else. It was simple. Never push a species past the point where patience becomes decision. It became known as the human clause. Across the galaxy, records were rewritten. History texts changed. Where humans were once described as emotional, divided, weak, they were now described as deliberate, restrained, unavoidable children of other species learned the story. Not as a tale of war, but as a tale of counting. They learned that humans endured loss not because they had no strength, but because they had too much. They learned that the most dangerous moment was not when humans shouted, but when they went quiet. In human space, life returned to normal. Cities rebuilt again. Trade resumed again. Stars lit up again. But something inside humanity had changed. Not for the worse. For the final time, human leaders met once more. A young officer asked a question that echoed across generations. Will this happen again? The answer was honest. Yes, the commander said. Someday. The officer looked concerned. But not soon, the commander added. Because now they remember. And they did. Decades passed. Then centuries. Humanity remained calm. The galaxy remained careful. Borders were respected. Treaties were honored. Threats were measured twice before spoken. Not because humans watched everything, but because everyone remembered what happened when they did not. On a distant world, an alien historian carved new words into stone. Not a victory, not a warning. A reminder. They thought humanity would endure forever. They were wrong. Those words spread farther than any fleet ever had. And that was humanity's greatest power. Not destruction, not conquest, but the knowledge they left behind. That patience is not endless. That silence is not safety. And that when humans finally stop enduring, they do not rage. They decide. And no species ever forgets that moment.